welcome back to the Scions of the Summit dev playthrough. I actually spent a little bit of time messing around with managing units just to prep for the next chapter. As you might notice, Godric is here. He's not going to be permanent just yet. He is going to just join us for this chapter right now, and I will make note of the fact that we are giving people the opportunity to kind of get to see and test out the princes of each of the countries that we can join forces with later down the line at the summit. It's probably not like the best showcase of these characters because some of them we don't really necessarily want them to fight on the map, but it's just to kind of show what their skills are going to look like. I will mention that because that issue we were having with LT earlier about specific skills persisting if they get buffs. So what's going to happen is we're probably going to give him a different personal skill than Universal Inspiration. So look forward to that in the future. Anyway, let's get started. This is why we had at least 1,500 gold saved up just so that we can recruit him. I might not end up using Ali in this playthrough. I actually used him quite a bit on my initial test run, and the only reason why is because using him kind of made it so that I couldn't really use Joanna in my team, and I really want to use her for this playthrough to show off a couple conversations that happen on the maps later on, but we'll see. I also want to point out that there are certain songs that we used in the game that I did not actually make edits to. That goes, or the credit goes to other people. You can actually find in our credit document. But yeah, this is one of the songs that was already changed up with the midis and everything. So anyway, this map is interesting in that we can't really attack enemies for it. I'll talk a little bit more about it as we get into the map. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll just take off the weapons for certain characters. So if they have like a ranged weapon, I'm gonna have to switch Ryosuke's on a little bit. Let's take off Filine's also. But yeah, again, like I said, I do want to use Ali, but unfortunately, just so that I can showcase Joanna a little bit more, I'll be using her instead. But I will make note of points where Ali would have had like an in-battle conversation. He actually has one with Rodion, who is the priest that showed up at the beginning of the chapter. He'll be showing up on this map as well, and I'll talk about how to recruit him in a little bit. But pretty much what's going to happen is that he'll show up over here, and if you ever decided that you wanted to have the interaction, if you attack Rodion with Ali, they do have a conversation in the battle itself, so it's pretty funny. Anyway, I think this looks pretty good. We'll get started. And so, like the red text mentioned, we don't want to be killing any of these characters, so we're going to start moving around and trying to get over to this area over here. This map has a lot of staff units on it. I want to make sure that I have Omar's range here, so he can't be moved, so you can't really be using certain skills on him. This particular skill is going to stop characters from doing anything. So just be very careful. There's some enemies on this map that will impede your movement, debuff you. Some of these guys, like, they'll have like swap skills and stuff. Some very interesting weapons. This guy over here is going to cause you to bleed, so that'll do some damage, so yeah. And you have a couple healers over here, so we're gonna try to avoid killing all of them. So I'm just gonna open up a bunch of chests. Like this. Move everybody up a little bit because we are going to get some reinforcements fairly soon. So there's going to be a lot of swapping around here. I think Godric's the one that got hit by the... We do want him to talk to Joanna too. It's the only conversation on the map outside of the Ollie and Rodion one. So this is Rodion over here, and we'll talk a little bit more about his skills. These are actually personal staffs that he uses, and we'll be making use out of them in future maps because he is recruitable. And as you can see, this is a very interesting personal skill that pretty much means that he can use his staff to like bonk people, essentially. So he's an interesting character that we'll learn a little bit more about in supports, but if you look here, he was actually originally in service to Grisha, who was the prince that kind of screwed over our country during the prior decade. But we'll learn a little bit more about him soon enough. But yeah, we're gonna move in over here. Gonna probably bait out a lot of the stuff here. Try to start moving people this way. And I do want Mina to be a little bit closer over here just so that don't have any issues. Let's see if I can swap with this guy over here. I will say, and I probably should have switched out Ryosuke's weapon, but you're only allowed to kill 3 enemies on this map, otherwise you'll end up with, I guess, the bad ending, if we could call it that. And there is different dialogue depending on whether you get all the switches or not. Talk with these two and learn a little bit more about their relationship. Just gonna hold off on this stuff here. Oops. Try to see who needs it the most, actually. Seems like Mina's the one that got messed up. I'm gonna try to area cleanse this just so that we're not having issues. Okay, I'm trying to move a lot of these characters out of the way just so that they don't cause any problems for us. This might cause a few issues. So we got even more guys coming in. So we're gonna attempt to get over here within the next turn. Mithras is barely hanging on 1 HP. That's not good, but I mean, it's fine. We got to this part, and as per the red text, which we'll be noticing in future chapters, this is how you unlock the X chapter. Since this is still a little bit short, so I'll try to move on and show off the supports. And even just the end as well of 3X, just because it's a little bit shorter overall. I don't know how many supports we have available. I think it's just this one. Yeah. So it should be pretty quick. I will also mention here that, and we'll actually show this off with 3X, we do allow for people to send out other characters, even though technically you don't really need to, but it's more like a freebie chapter for support games if you really wanted them. So we're going to pick a couple characters here. I'm going to probably move Astria. We're gonna put Mina in here. Trying to think because we have a lot of opportunities for Strata and Astria later on. So I might actually bring Rodion in here, just because we can actually gain some supports with Mina, and it'll make it go by a little bit more quickly in getting some of the supports for now. But we should be able to get these two up pretty quickly, just because I'm probably going to use them for all the maps, or at least a good majority of them. We don't have a lot of opportunities for like the smaller casts. or these smaller maps where certain characters might not get a lot of opportunities to talk to each other later. So, anyways, let's get started with this. It's gonna be pretty short overall. So I think the reason why there's like damage to the characters is because like it's coming off of the previous chapter. It's the only one where this happens. So it shouldn't be an issue. We actually used to have an accessory called the light pillars in this chest right here, but we were having some difficulty in attempting to make it work properly. It was working on one of our other devs, I guess LT engine testing or whatever, but for some reason when trying to transfer over a lot of the information, I guess it just wouldn't transfer properly, so we're just gonna leave that for now. Anyway, let's go read the murals and learn a little bit more about the lore of the story. Also, something of note is that it really doesn't matter what order you read these in, they'll always be in the correct order of when you should be reading all of them. This is actually going to be a really nice item that I'm going to be utilizing a little bit later on, probably in the next chapter actually, and then we'll be transferring it over to somebody else for a later chapter. We'll get to that later. And of course, that scene actually will not play if you don't do 3x. There was actually a reason for that initially, at least the original plans of how we decided to go about certain routes, which might hint at least or at least one of the routes that might have additional requirements to it. But otherwise, it's not super important at the moment. But again, this is how you would unlock this chapter. We'll be starting off with chapter 4 next time, so thank you all for watching.